Hey kids, Uncle Groovy here. Thought I'd bare my soul with a confession story. The summer of 2017, I was in Montana on a fire complex, and we were having to haul water from, well, we had to drive an hour and a half to get to where we pick up the water from in the morning. Pick up the water, take 2 hours to drive all the way up the little windy logging road to the spot where we were exchanging it so that we could supply a hotshot crew and a skidgen, which is a really interesting piece of equipment that were working the fire up on top of the mountain. And so this was going on for about a week, and finally the fire team decided to put a camp up there and let us work from up on top. So there were three of us and two older gentlemen, great guys, and they asked which of us would be willing to drive down the little short end of the road, which is about a half a mile out to the top of a hogback and a saddle. And the road was really bad, very narrow, and surrounded on the bottom side by lodgepole that were no bigger than 8 inches around, so if you went off, they all just become part of the fun. The other two guys did not feel comfortable with it. I went down and surveyed the spot they were worried about, gave them some instructions on how to fill it in and get it up to my liking, and the truck that I had was the shortest and smallest truck. So that became my job, and their job was to bring water to me, which was kind of nice, but it was about 3 days before they actually had got a porta john or anything up there. So you're just dog tired when you're fighting fires because the hours are crazy. And so I'm up there. There's only like a few people there. The medic, nice Blackfoot kid. It's been a while. I can't remember his name. But anyhow, I had to go, So I hiked down the hill, which was about like yay, until I found a nice log laying across the hill, fairly horizontal, and I found a good spot, got in a nice position, and got everything ready to go, and then realized that having my feet uphill was not a good idea. As I went back head over heels, scratched myself on my leg, and down I went, did a full Chris Farley down this hill until I finally skidded to a stop on my stomach with my feet and still had my pants down around my ankles. Very embarrassing. Fortunately, nobody saw it. So I hike back up there, use the tree correctly, and then get up on top, and I go seek out the medic to ask him for something to clean the scratches all down the back of my thigh. And he's like, when I first walked up to him, I said, "Hey, I just had an accident." And he's looking at me like, kind of like that. He told me later he thought I meant that I had an accident. When I told him, no, I scratched my leg falling down the thing. He's like, "Oh, okay. It's got it all covered." So the guys I'm working with, there's some pretty interesting characters. And a few days later, a week later, we're sitting around the campfire. And we were telling funny stories about embarrassing things that happened to us, and the medic just starts cracking up. He's laughing in between stories, and this big burly guy that was like, very alpha male and not very friendly, he says, "Hey, what's so funny?" And he's like, points at me and he goes, "Oh, Ray's story is the best." And I'm like, "You said you wouldn't tell anybody." He's like, "Oh, come on, it's so funny." And they're like, "Well, come on, spit it out." So I explained the story to him. And I'm expecting a full rash of, now I'm going to be the center of all the butt of the jokes, And so everybody's just about ready to pounce. And the really big burly guy, he goes, "That is pretty bad. But it reminds me of the time when he's like, I was in my truck, woke up, I really had to go number one. It was cold as heck outside. I stepped outside in my house shoes and got my business out and started to go, and my feet just went right out from under me. Next thing I know, I'm laying flat on my back hurts, and it's raining, and I don't know why." So that was his way of saving me from further embarrassment from the other guys. But It's a pretty funny story. Fire camps are cool if you ever get a chance to go to one.